On today's Toy Spot, we're going to be having a look at the Batman's Penguin. The Penguin here was voiced in the cartoon by Tom Kenny, who was best known for SpongeBob SquarePants. Also did a good job on the Starscream that was in Transformers Animated. Good interpretation of the Penguin. The Penguin itself, he didn't go too far off the character from the comics. It was similar. I mean, it wasn't like Tim Burton's Penguin, where they completely flipped around the character and made him into, you know, a sewer-dwelling mutant and all that kind of stuff, which I didn't think was too bad. But this Penguin is closer to the comics. He's more of a you know, like a businessman, like a dealer kind of thing. The only downside to this Penguin in the cartoon was that, very similar to the Joker, they turned him into like this ninja martial artist kind of sword wielding character, which for the size and the shape of the character didn't really make much sense to have him as acrobatic as they did. But I guess they had to make the character a little more interesting than just having him with umbrellas and stuff like that. The figure itself does capture the character from the cartoon quite well. In fact, I would say the Batman probably is one of the best examples of a toy line where they stuck very true to the characters in the cartoon. They didn't go too far off. However, I will say, unfortunately, with the first and second wave of the Batman figures, that gimmick did play a big role in the characters, so that the figures themselves did suffer a bit. But the coloring is nice. You get that nice blonde coloring in the Penguin's hair here. You get his monocle there. Nice coloring in his tuxedo, and they've also given him tails in his tuxedo, which is a nice added touch. There's a lever on his back here, but I'll get into that in a second. He does come with his top hat, like that, which is rather interesting because it's they've molded the hat in such a way that there's a point on the hat that matches to the point in the hair, and the idea is that that head, or that hat, sits on his head almost in a way that you didn't think would make sense, but it does stay on there rather well. Also, his accessories in this package were an umbrella, which sits in his hand, but sits in his hand in a weird way. If you notice, there's a little hole or a little dot in his hand, and that actually has to match up with the eye from the umbrella. That's the only way actually that the character holds his umbrella well, and you actually have to adjust it and push the eye of the duck head, or I guess the handle of the umbrella, into it for him to actually hold it correctly. Unfortunately, though, in the way of his articulation, it's limited and it's posed in a certain way that it has to play to the gimmick of the character. His head does turn well. There is articulation in the shoulders, but the arms jet out no matter how well you adjust it. There is also articulation in the lower half. However, the way the character is, you have to have it posed a certain way that he stands alright. He doesn't stand well if you've got the waist in a certain direction. He stands well there. His other gimmick, or his other feature, accessory, is a mace on a chain here, and that slides right into his hand like that. And then the lever I mentioned earlier, when you push that down, just extend that out there, he spins his mace. I don't find that interesting at all, and I kind of wish they hadn't put that in there, just because it takes away from the character. You should never throw a gimmick onto a character at the price of the articulation. But I guess he does look really nice on the shelf. And if I move him aside, and hopefully he still stands for me, and I bring in Bane, and I also bring in Hammer Strike Joker, you get a really good contrast. And I'll move this back. You really get a good contrast of villains here, and every one of the Batman villains is sculpted differently and has a different body type. So I mean, there's a wide range of different different looking figures, and I will give a good thumbs up to the Batman line for doing it, because I mean, they do stand out as incredible looking toys. I'll just move the Joker back out of the way, and I'll move Bane out of the way. But Penguin was reissued, and I'm pretty sure I've got that figure as well. I think the only difference is that the coloring, I think the coloring is a little bit different in his shirt as well as on his hat. If I do find that figure, and I know he's packed away somewhere, if I find that figure, I'll do a review of him as well. But there you have a toy spot on the Batman's Penguin. Hope you guys have enjoyed it. Please comment below what you think of the figure, and if you do have this figure yourself, or you have any of the Batman figures, I mean, by all means, I'd like to see a video response to this. So if you do want to do a video, throw it down there, and you know, we'll have a look there. But in the meantime, there you have a toy spot on the Batman's Penguin. And with that, I will see you guys next time.